Hello, everybody. This is Boom Bat Beast, and this time, welcome back first off. And this time, I am doing a new segment, which is pretty much the same shit I've been doing, but it's just with older games that I either never played or haven't played in a long time, and just kind of wanted to, look at why I liked them or why I didn't like them so much. And so segment is going to be called Link to the Past, and today I am doing Duke Nukem 3D, which I never got a chance to play ever, as surprising as that may seem to some people. I've played a lot of the Duke Nukem series, but most of the stuff I played was the kind of like the third-person shooters on the N64, the PS1. I particularly really liked Time to Kill a lot. That's probably... after playing this game, I don't know where it stands, if I like this one or Time to Kill more. I'd have to play Time to Kill again, because it's been 10 years or more since I played Time to Kill. But this is about Duke Nukem 3D. I never got to play it as a kid. As a kid, I only ever played a couple really noteworthy first-person shooters like Wolfenstein and Doom 2. And we really didn't have a computer good enough to play this kind of shit, or we just didn't play it because, broke ass kid. Like, the only reason I was able to even play PC games when I was a kid is because, my stepdad was awesome and let us play, PC games. So I did get to play a lot of the older classics, but I missed out on a ton too, which is pretty cool because now, as an adult, I have some shit to play on PC because I've played everything on console. So now I have some old stuff to go back to on PC and enjoy because I'm more into the older style of designing games. But anyway... this is a Link to the Past about Duke Nukem 3D. This is the first time I've ever played it, and I gotta say, before I even start this, I enjoyed it a lot. And I will, so I'm just gonna do like I do on my my breakdowns of vivisections, whatnot, and I'm just gonna go through the pros and the cons, and then at the end, I'm kind of going to give a general statement about how I felt about the game or what I thought. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of get right into it. Things I liked about this game, it is really, really fast-paced, super fast, and holy shit, like, I miss that so much. Like, one of the things going into this game, I feel like I should also preface this before I start getting way too into it, but, like, the reason I started playing this game, or decided, like, because right now I've been on a huge first-person shooter kick. Like, you're going to see the next, 3 or 4 videos I do are going to be old first-person shooters or, new ones as well. Newer ones that I like, that look good to me or look like something I would be interested in. Because I watched Total Biscuit's first-person shooters Have They Gone Backwards video, which if you haven't watched that video, you totally should. Because I agree with almost everything the guy says in that video. And I never played Shadow Warrior either, which is what I played after this. And when I was watching him play it, it just made me realize, I was like, holy shit, I need to go back and play some first-person shooters from back then, because I have been super burned out on them lately, because most of the people I'm friends with aren't, like, huge gamers. They play a lot of AAA stuff, but they don't really dig super archaeologically deep to get, like, in the cracks and get all the little nuggets of goodness. So I'm around, like, most of the multiplayer games that people I know want to play generally are first-person shooters, and I got burnt out on them a while ago just because of that, because I don't really give a shit about the next Call of Duty or the next Battlefield or anything. That's not to say they don't have their place, it's just that for me it's just I don't really like them, and I kind of got this my mind was set that it was well, maybe first-person shooters are just not very good, because the new ones to me aren't very good. And I was like, maybe when I was growing up and playing Doom 2 and Wolfenstein and things like that, and older first-person shooters, kind of in my I almost convinced myself that maybe it was just it was because I was young, and I was because dude, Doom 2, the super shotgun, come on, when I was young, that was the coolest shit on earth. I remember the first time I played Doom 2, it fucking obliterated my fucking brainstem. I just could not believe how fucking awesome that game was. And now when I look back on it, I'm well, yeah, dude, I was young and I loved horror-ish things and fucking blowing things apart. I loved Evil Dead 2 at the time, so things like that, it's just so over the top, blowing everything away. I didn't really ever, like when I was young, I don't know if I put and apparently I did, but I didn't know if I had put like the thought into how was the game designed. Like, is it actually a good game, or is it just kind of like the fluff, and all that shit. But it ended up like, so anyway, yeah, it ended up with me being like, well, maybe I need to go back and play these old ones, because I never played Duke Nukem 3D, and I really wanted to amend that and take that off of my video game history record, because I love Duke Nukem. Like, I really, really liked Time to Kill and the other ones, which are, arguably from most fans of Duke Nukem, not as good as 3D. So I was like, alright, cool, well, I'm going to play that. And then I bought, like, we had obviously the Steam sale, so I bought 1 million fucking games, and now I have a ton, and I'm going through them right now, and they're fucking quite excellent. Anyway, getting back to the point at hand, I just figured I'd give that little preface before, because this is kind of a ramble, and these videos are kind of ramblings. But yeah, like the gameplay is so fucking fast. Like, it's amazing. Like compared to like modern shit, like you are moving like 5 times faster, and there's just so much more going on in these games, in my opinion. It's so fucking awesome. Like, I loved it. Like, it's so cool to be able to just fly across the fucking level at light speed. And the levels still take, like, a decent amount of time to complete, because they're not, like, bogging you down, making you, like, move 1 fucking foot a second. And it's awesome. I just like the really fast pace of it, for the first thing I had to say. And the next thing I have to say about this game is the levels are designed so amazingly. Like, for the most part, there's some that are like, they're not as good, but it's very few, and holy shit, besides those, the level design in this game is fucking amazing. Like, whoever designed the levels in this game, I want to fucking meet them and shake their hand, because they are a fucking genius. Like, I don't know how else to put it. Like, they're a person who you can tell how fucking much they cared about this game, because they eked so much variety out of the system that is in this game. Like, I can't believe the levels they created. Like, how much scope the guy who designed the levels in this game had. Like, how much he was just like, fuck you, I'm gonna do this level. And, the game engine's like, well, you probably shouldn't do this kind of level in this game engine, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, no, fuck you, I'm gonna do it, like, because it's gonna be awesome. And it was. And whoever the fuck, the guys who designed the levels for these games, woo, they're awesome. The levels are very wide open. This is part of the reason I like the level design, is what I'm getting into now. The levels are very wide open, and they're really fun to explore. It's like, jeez, man, like, I miss it so much. Like, just playing any part in a shooter is just awesome to me. Like, and like I said, the levels are really, there's so much to them. They're so open, and there's so many things to find. Like, it's crazy, man. Like, I don't know. I love anyway, I can't really say much more about it without just rambling and sounding like an incoherent fucking psychopath. But this game's level design was fucking awesome, and that was something I really liked about it. The next thing is, like, most of the weapons, like, the weapons are pretty varied and they're pretty fun, or have their place. I have a problem with some of them, which I'll talk about, but I really like the in this game when there's like a shrinker where you can shoot them and it shrinks them, and then or you can freeze them. There's like a freeze thrower. You can freeze them, which is awesome. But the thing I really liked about it was that, like, especially this early in video games, it doesn't seem like something they would have had. Kind of ahead of its time almost, but like if you freeze them or shrink them and you walk into them, you'll automatically either just squash them with your boot or you'll just kick them if they're frozen. So like he'll just auto kick them if they're frozen. You don't have to like shoot them or do anything if you don't want to. And I think that was really cool. That was a really cool little tiny touch. Yeah, so yeah, the next thing to me was the secrets in this game are pretty good for the most part. Like, they did a pretty good job. It was, like I said, it was very fun to explore and find them. And some of them are a little hard to find, but most of them are pretty damn reasonable. And I really enjoyed the secrets. I missed that aspect too in terms of, like I said, the exploration. It was very fun, and it wasn't just shitty. Like, the secrets were legit fucking good, you know? You find a fucking... I mean, I can't, like, to be honest with you, I can't remember, like, an exact example, but it's something along the lines, you know, you could, like, find a rocket launcher in level 1 or something. Like, you know, you'd only get 5 ammo for it, but fuck, dude, that's a rocket launcher in level 1. That helps a lot. Like, it makes a difference, and that's really cool. Whew, let's see what else I got here. Ah, yes. So something else I really liked about this game, and this is just older FPSs in general, I guess, because when I think about it, this is kind of how Doom and those games were too. But I really like the. It's actually, I'd say it's really interesting to me, the find the key to advance thing, where, you know, it's kind of like, well, now you get the blue key, okay, now you need the red key, now you need the yellow key. And, like, as you go through the level, each key will kind of unlock more of the level to where it's like, alright, well, here's the part of the level where you can kind of go and get this key. And it's kind of almost like the logical checkpoints in the levels, if there was a checkpoint system, which thank God there isn't. And it's really just interesting to me that it, like, I never really thought of it like this when I was younger, because I didn't really ever think about game design, but it's like, it's an interesting way to give you an objective without, like, shoving it down your throat. Like, it's just kind of like, you know when you start the level, you know you need to find something, and then you can kind of walk around and kind of piece together what you're doing. It's like, oh, there's a door that needs a yellow key, so I'm looking for a yellow key, you know. And sometimes there's multiple colored doors, but in general, you'll know, like, well, I'm looking for a key. Then you get that key, and you're like, oh yeah, this is that key that goes to that door, and you feel smart about it. And you go back and you unlock that door, and then you look through that area for whatever, and usually there's some shortcut that leads you back to the other area. It's just really interesting. I really found that cool. I really like the find the key gameplay as much as people like. I've heard people like to kind of bash that. I think it was fucking really cool. It was a really good way of giving you guidance, but letting you do what you wanted to do. Like, just letting you be free in a way. Like, it was fun. I really enjoyed it. Another thing I found really cool about this game was the non-linearity of some of the levels, and like it felt to me like if you could even skip parts like altogether, if you like, mostly because of the item in the game, the jetpack. But like it was interesting to me because I was like, man, like if you played this game all the time, like if this was one of, like, because everybody has those games, you know, they go back to and play all the time, and it's just fun for them. And like, I'll probably play this game again. I really enjoyed it. But if you have the jetpack, I mean, there's levels where you could legitimately like skip huge sections of the levels and just plow, like, just go straight through them. And it's just interesting that you could do that you could complete levels your own way. It's kind of reminds me of like one of my brothers is like really likes Super Metroid, and like I'm sure it's common ass knowledge, like, you know, you got the internet. But before the advent of the internet, or before the internet was reliable, back when people were just like, all they did was go on the internet and tell lies about fucking Cloud getting Barrett's gun arm and bullshit like that, he would beat Super Metroid almost completely backwards because he played the game so much that he would like skip major parts of the game and like play it backwards because it was harder, just because he can, and he knew the game so well that it was like kind of almost another way to play the game. Even though I think that was like unintended to an extent in Super Metroid, it was still awesome that it was there, because then it just is so much more replayability. You're like, oh, I wonder how I can do this, or oh, I'll do it this way this time. Like, I don't know, to me that's really cool. I think that's really awesome. And I'm sure, like I said, especially now because of the speedrun community, like, that's just such common knowledge. Like, oh yeah, beating Metroid back, like, that's the fastest way to beat it. Why would you ever not beat it that way? But, like, as a kid, you know, that was fucking awesome. And even as an adult, it's pretty awesome that you have that option. Anyway, another thing is, to me, weapons in this game feel like they should, for the most part, in terms of power. The pistol and the chain cannon in particular could use some buffing, in my opinion, like just a little bit. But otherwise, like, explosives in this game, like, wreck shit. And the shotgun is deadly as fuck. Like, it feels so good to blast shit with a shotgun. And honestly, it's probably a little too good. The shotgun in this game is OP as fuck. But it still is a very good feeling weapon. The rockets are fun. I like the sound effects, and it's just, everything felt pretty good for the most part. Also, the last one for me on pros is that the puzzles are fun in this game. I really like the puzzles, and you feel like national treasure or something when you fucking finding shit. Like, you feel like a total pimp, like, when you find stuff in this game. You're just like, oh, sweet, I found something. Like, oh, that's awesome. You like, look at every little thing. You're like, oh, look, I'll flush this toilet. Oh, here comes a fucking rocket launcher. Sweet. Like, it's just fun. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but you feel like the puzzles in the game are fun, and you just feel awesome when you find shit. Like, that's what's fun about games, you know? So I really enjoyed that. Yeah, so now I'm going to get into the things I didn't like about the game. Things I didn't like about this game. The chain cannon, to me, it felt like it should be stronger. Like, it just felt really weak, and it should have more stagger to it or accuracy. Like, one or the other. It's really hard to find a consistent use for it. Like, it's like, all I really used it for, and, well, not all, but, like, for the most part, what I would use it for is to kill, like, the little ass, like, sweaty little fucking turd lump aliens. Like, the basic aliens. They look like fucking retarded tigers. Oh my god, that's funny. I actually wrote that later. But, that and the pistol, too. Like, the pistol is, like, the one of the worst things in this game to me was the pistol. Just because it's, like, the only thing it's useful at all is, like, the little first aliens that, like I said, they look like tiger apes. Like, that's it. Like, it's shit outside of that. Like, it's, like, absolute utter shit. Like, I would never use it outside of that. And that's kind of a shame because it's, like, it's a lost chance to make a really, you know, another cool badass weapon, and instead it's just a pistol and it's boring, and it doesn't. Not only is it boring, but it doesn't do shit to most enemies in the game. And then trip mines, to me, for the most part, I mean, they feel totally out of place in this game, especially with the pipe bombs that are just so fucking OP. Like, I think I used trip mines like 1 or 2 times ever. I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm not a Duke Nukem 3D purist and I don't know, like, the best way to use them. I have no fucking idea, but it just always felt like, I mean, I guess there were, like, 1 or 2 levels I could think of where it would, like, if you really knew the level already inside and out and you're playing through the game again, trip mines would be decent for that part, but, like, for the most part, they're just another wasted weapon slot. It's like, man, that could have been something way cooler. Yeah. They also, let's see, I feel like the Devastator, like, was kind of like a huge double-edged sword. Like, the mini explosions, I feel, because what the Devastator is it's like double fucking fist-powered rocket launchers that shoot these little mini rockets, like, they just kind of splash them all around, like, but they fire them like a machine gun. But, like, the little tiny-ass mini explosions from them will hurt you. And I feel like they shouldn't. Like, it makes it so hard to find a way to use it because it's like it can't decide if it wants to be long range or close range. Like, a lot of the times when you would want to use it, it's a long range thing, but you're like, well, fuck, I'll just use the rocket launcher because the rocket launcher just goes in a straight fucking line right where I shoot it. You know what I'm saying? There's no real risk about it. I can fire off the rocket launcher and get back behind cover super fast. Whereas the Devastator, it's not really like that. It's a lot harder to aim. And, like, it's only really good at medium range. But at the same time, there's really not a lot of scenarios in the game where you're, like, at a good medium range. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I used it, and it's good. But, like, it just sucks that the only real situation you can use it in is very limited. Compared to, like, how you would, like, you know, it's the super powerful weapon in the game, and it's just kind of like, like, it does too much damage to you if you're close to them, and it doesn't seem worth it. Like, I just didn't really like the Devastator, to be honest with you, and I wish that they would have, I don't know, like I said, either make it not splash damage or make it more accurate, so that it was a little bit better at a long range. Let's see. The Shrinker and the Expander weren't terrible, but I feel like they should have either had, like, splash damage or, like, hit multiple enemies or been a little faster. They weren't, like I said, they weren't terrible. Like, they had their uses and they were really good in some scenarios, but at the same time, like, it just wasn't great. Like, it could have been done better, in my opinion. Here's the next one for me is like, and this one of these I'm going to talk about. Like, this is another thing where it's like I could just not be not a Duke Nukem 3D purist, and there's actually some really really good uses for it, and I don't know what they are. But the first thing, this one is not what I'm talking about. I'll tell you when I get to it. But anyway, the night vision goggles to me and the Hollow Duke. The Hollow Duke is what I was talking about. Felt really underwhelming. Like, the night vision goggles felt like they had absolutely no place in this game at all. Like, I don't even know why. Like, I think I used them twice ever. They were very pointless and didn't serve any purpose to me, like, at all. There weren't any, like, darker areas I can think of at all in the game where you would have needed them anyway. So that was just kind of silly to have in the game. And the Hollow Duke was just, like I said, it felt really underwhelming. And this is the one I was talking about where it's like, maybe I just don't know how to use it, and someone could tell me what I'm doing wrong with it. But, and don't get me, like, I used it, and sometimes it kind of worked, but not. It just, I don't know. It just felt really underwhelming. I was thinking maybe you could, like, give it a much shorter amount of time to deploy, but make it, like, a lot better, so that, you know, the enemies will actually attack it more often, and maybe give it like a little bit, like 3 feet of distance, because when you use it, it just appears on you. And like the kind of like the idea that I get from it is it would be better to be able to like put it out ahead of you, so that like before you come around a corner, enemies are maybe distracted by it or something. I don't know, but they just both felt really underwhelming and kind of shitty, and didn't really feel like they needed to be in the game. Let's see. Next thing for me is there's a few tiny level design issues I had, and they, like I said, very tiny. But the only level design I can really bitch at is and this is from the Megaton Edition, or the Atomic Plutonium Pack. What the hell is it called? I don't know. There's so many fucking nuclear jokes. But there's a level, it's like Babeland, where it's like an amusement park with, you know, hot chicks, and yeah, like. The level is... There were 2 moments in that level that I kind of got genuinely stuck on, and took me a while to figure out. And up to that point, and after that point, there was nothing else like that in the game. Like, everything else in the game was, like, much more sensical. But there's this part where you come into this little shooting range, and there's these targets. And up to that point in the game, you've never seen this before. They've never played a part in anything. And so... like, my logic was like, well, you need to shoot all the targets down, because that's what you would do in a shooting range. And it's like, no. And then I tried shooting a bunch of other different targets, and it's like, no. And, like, I tried fucking... There's, like, these little rubber ducks at the bottom that go through, and they're carried on a little current. So I was like, oh, well, maybe I need to shrink and go through there. So, like, there are these creatures that can shrink you, so I was like, cool, I'll do that. So I got shrunk and tried that, and I was like, oh, it can't go in there, that doesn't make sense. So I was like, well, fuck, and I threw a pipe bomb on it and let it travel, but it traveled through, and there's nothing to blow up with it. So I was like, very confused. I didn't understand what the fuck I was supposed to do, so I was like, well, maybe there's something else I forgot in the level. Ran around the whole level, and came back and, like, ended up figuring out eventually, like, fucking an hour later, that, like, you actually have to shoot, like, specific targets down at the same time, like just very specific ones, and that was just dumb to me. It was like, either make it all like, or give you some kind of idea about that, maybe. Like, everything else in the game made a little more sense. And I mean, there's like, yeah, there's switches in the game where it's like there'll be 4 switches and you have to switch the right ones to get it. Like, you'll switch the right ones and then you'll hear a sound like unlock. But like, I sat there and shot those targets for a while, like for a long while, and it didn't unlock anything. So it's just like, man, like, it was just really confusing. Like, I didn't like that part.
Heaven or Hell Duel 2, let's rock! Counter! Destroy!
And then also there's like the same level, there's a part where you go around this kind of like Pirates of the Caribbean ride. And there's like a pirate ship and a fortress, and it was just weird to me because there's so much water in that area, but there's like this specific part where you get in there, and in this game when you're in water, like there's no visual difference from when you're like walking on top of like shallow water. So like I just thought I was walking on shallow water the whole fucking time. But there's like this very little part where the pirate ship is, where you can actually go under the water. So that took me a while to figure out too, and it was just, I just didn't like that. Like I was kind of like, man, like there's no color difference, there's no like visual difference. Like, oh, you're treading water in water, you're just walking on top of water, and so that kind of, I didn't like that level for that reason. But that was it. I mean, that's the only level in the entire game I really didn't like that much. So yeah, and I believe, like I said, if I'm not mistaken, that level was in the expansion pack. So, you know, whatever. I mean, you're gonna have, not everything's gonna be perfect. So yeah, the next thing to me was the lunar base mission, because the game is broken up into 3 segments, the base game, which the first one is like in LA when you get your ship shot down. The second one takes place like in space on a lunar base, and then the third one is kind of, if I remember correctly, back in LA again. Which the best segments of the game to me are the LA segments. But the lunar base isn't terrible, but it's just way too goddamn long. Like, it's so long. It feels so much longer than either other section of the game. And, which is a shame because, like I said, the other 2 sections to me are much better. And to me, it was also significantly harder than the other 3. Like, even including the expansion. Like, it was like, it was weird to me because it was like you would think they would have the hardest or the harder level or area at the end, but it's actually like right after the first chapter. So I don't know. I just feel like the lunar base was way too long. Like I can't really think of anything in particular now that I'm like, because I played this probably a month ago now. I can't really think of anything in particular that like really stood out to me in the lunar base as like being complete shit. But like I remember it was harder and it was just so long. Yeah, and that would just bug me. I don't think it should have been that long. And the last thing to me is that the bosses in this game, like there's a couple bosses, but like the giant chain gun demons is what I'm thinking of, or aliens or whatnot, are just like kind of meh. Like they're just really boring. And the big chain gun aliens, like they need more counterplay to me. Like they, besides just like strafing out and shooting, strafing out and shooting, strafing out and shooting, it feels like their reaction time is a little too high, and they just do so much damage. Like they're just boring to fight. Like every time I'd see another one, I'd just be like, god damn it, like none of these fucking things again. Like it's just because all you do is it's like you out cheap it, which I understand. Like these old games are kind of like that to an extent. But I mean, this is like really you just out-cheaping the game. You're like, well, the game's so cheap, I'm just going to be cheap. And so you just sit there and you strafe out, fire a rocket, strafe out, fire a rocket, strafe out, fire a rocket. Like, that's not fun to me. Like, that's just like, oh, okay, this guy's going to take 10 of my rockets. Great. Fuck this guy. Like, piece of shit. Like, I didn't like him, that particular monster or alien. And they just needed more counterplay, or they needed to, I don't know, just have more interesting, like, everything. Nah. I'm kind of not in a place right now where I could be making suggestions about what to do with the chain gun demon. But yeah, I didn't really like them. That's why I wrote down, I feel like they could be a little more puzzly given the nature of the game, in terms of, like, there could be a little more, like, to fighting them. Like, maybe they're slow, you shoot them in the back or something. I don't know. But just something. And to make it not just like strafe out, shoot a rocket, strafe out, shoot a rocket. They were very boring in that way. So yeah, that was all my pros and cons basically about this game. Overall, I fucking love this game. I thought it was amazing. It got me really hyped to play Shadow Warrior, which is probably going to be my next video. And it was just like, man, it really rekindled like my fire for old first-person shooters and made me realize that as a kid I wasn't dumb, and that these games are so much goddamn better than new shooters, like by such a wide margin. And it just like, God, it felt so good to play an old game like that I haven't ever played, that was this good. Like that's really all I can say. This game's fucking awesome, and I'm sure like I'm the only human on Earth who hasn't played it. But like if you haven't and you're watching this, go fucking get it. It's cheap as shit. Like I got it on Steam for I think $2, and like I would pay so much more than $2 for this game. It's fucking excellent. Even with all of its flaws, and it had, like I said, like I had a lot of cons about this game. There was a lot of shit. And like, yeah, I'll talk about it in the Shadow Warrior video. But yeah, like, this game was fucking awesome. I dug the shit out of it. Duke Nukem's the shit. Yeah, that's pretty much how I felt about this game. Anyway, this is Boom Bat Beast once again. And if you like this video, please subscribe. And yeah, take it easy, everybody. Peace.